Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? Josh says he will finally be able to be on the live for once. Well, yeah, this is it's an impromptu live stream, which also gives me an opportunity to check out engagement, off the cuff engagement, obviously. Oh, I gotta get rid of the duplicate stream here. For a different time zone. Time zone we don't normally stream at. Got to get do not disturb on here. Okay. Fantastic. So this topic, this X thread, it's been poking at me. It's been poking at me for a few days now. And I just gotta apologize. I'm very disheveled, as you can see. I literally coached 15 hours of 12U softball over the weekend at a tournament. We did come in second place, so it was worth it. But I have not physically recovered yet. It was a lot. It was a lot. So yeah, some cleanup to do, but that's neither here nor there. We've got more important, bigger fish to fry. Okay, and that is this X thread. It's been bothering me a little bit. And I'm gonna pull it up. We're gonna walk through it. We're gonna discuss. There's a lot of good takeaways in this, but very important topic. And this is gonna be the live that I think we save, we bookmark, we point to anytime this topic comes up again, where it's this idea that the designer or an example site, they're obviously, this is what we need to build. That's kind of what we're looking at something. This is what we need to build. And there's this idea that as long as you get to that destination, it does not matter how you get there. That's the idea that I keep seeing over and over and over again. That's the concept. And it's crazy. That's crazy, right? I've tried to use analogies in the past, tried to say, hey, if something's rattling up under your car and you take it to the mechanic, and the mechanic finds the rattle and he just slaps some fucking duct tape on it and then sends you on your way. And then you come to find out that duct tape was slapped on. You go back to the mechanic. You're like, what is this? And he goes, well, you wanted the rattle fixed. I fixed the rattle for you. That you said, fix the rattle. Is it rattling? That's not rattling, is it? No. But see, in your mind, when you took it to the mechanic, you were like, surely they're going to do some mechanic type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to actually do some work, not just slap some duct tape on. But for some reason in our industry, there's a lot of this mindset that like, if you replicate what you see, you just check that box and it does not matter how you got there. Now we know, anybody who's been around for a while knows that this is just an absurd way to think about the work that we do for multiple reasons. One is when you have issues in a project, like you create, the methodology you use is essentially broken. So there's no maintainability, there's no scalability. The problems compound. They get bigger and bigger and bigger as the project goes along. And somebody's got to clean that up. Somebody's got to pay for that. So there's going to be a breakdown somewhere, right? That's going to be a major cost at some point. Even though it's technically cheaper to maybe do that in the beginning, there's going to be a cost to doing that at some point, okay? That's number one. So who's that cost going to be on? Number two is the fact that, let's go back to the mechanic. At some point, there's going to be like robots working on cars, right? AI, if you will. Well, the robots, let me just tell you, could work on cars right now, today. We could get, what are those robots Elon's working on? Grab one, or those little dogs that are always running around from fucking, what's that company that got these like robot dogs, these scary, freaky robot dogs that do gymnastics and shit? They could work at a mechanic shop right now if all they were asked to do is go slap some duct tape on shit. They could. Literally, a mechanic shop could hire anybody. You don't need to be a mechanic. Just anybody. Just grab anybody off the street. Come on in. You want a job? Let's go. Right? You ask for like professional work to be done because in your mind, there's some semblance of a standard that's going to be worked to, right? That's the unspoken understanding. I put out a post the other day on Facebook because I was in a group. It was a Siesta Key group, I believe. So somebody was looking for a musician for a wedding. And they put a stipulation. It was a very interesting stipulation. Preferably a professional. Now, I thought, well, why don't I just reply with a little correction and just let them know, hey, anybody who accepts money is a professional. Would that help them in their search for a... Why did they write that? Why did they write preferably a professional? Why did they write that? Because there's also this understanding that, hey, if you're taking money for what you're doing, you're a pro. That's what you're getting paid. You're a professional, right? But why did they write that? Because they're going to be paying somebody. I guess that they're computing in their mind that just because I'm handing somebody money doesn't suddenly turn them into something that they aren't, right? There is an understanding that people, when they seek out a professional, there's an understanding that they're going to get something other than just work in return, other than just time in return. There's some expectation, perhaps, of expertise or experience or some other qualification, right? Not in our industry. Not in our industry. Our industry is, if you take work, you're a pro. Anybody can be a pro. Nobody's allowed to qualify what a pro is or isn't. Anybody should be able to do it. Just come on in. You don't need any training. You don't need to you have a laptop. Do you have a pulse? Come on in. Come on in. That seems to be a lot of the direction that we tend to go in. Okay. So let me pull up this X post real quick. I know I'm not screen sharing yet. We'll get there in just a second. Let's find it. I thought I had it pulled up, but I didn't. Okay, we're gonna pin it. That way it stays with us. Okay. We can close that tab. We can close. Okay. All right. Let me zoom in. Let's make this very easy to read for everybody. Pedro, we love you too. We love you too. Okay. So Jamie posts this. If you can figure out how I built this layout entirely with WordPress blocks, no CSS, no plugins, you win a big prize. Oh, but before I go on, I have been the favorite attack from people whenever I do this or whenever this happens, is that I'm gatekeeping, right? I'm gatekeeping. That's terrible. It's a bad thing. It's so awful. Okay. You should go read this article. It's not gatekeeping. It's a good start. It's a good start to the article. Why professional standards matter in web development. Okay. This is a very important article to read and to understand if you're doing work in this industry, in any professional industry, and any semblance of professionalism, or however you want to label it or call it or what have you. Very, very, very important concept to understand. Okay. I want to make it very clear that it is obvious that there are a multitude of people in different stages of learning and development and skill and ability and experience. When I do this sort of thing, one thing you should notice or know inherently, okay? The WDD lives that I do where I review a website and we look at the DOM, we look at how this was built, we shake our head together, we go, what has happened? Okay. Those are submitted for that purpose. And it's not always by the person who built the site. Keep that in mind too. It's not always by the person who built the site. But those are submitted to get actual real feedback. They want feedback. They want reality. They want the truth. They want all the things that are going to make them, their site, whatever, better, right? That's what that's for. Never have I ever, and never will I ever, and never would I ever see some rando on the internet trying to do their best in web design, whatever stage of development they're at, would I just go grab their site and tear it apart and look at what they've done and be like, no, this is all garbage, blah, 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 blah. I would never do that. You would never see me you've never seen me do that. And there's a very good, because I don't care. I don't care. I have a fundamental understanding that everybody is in different stages and everybody is learning, and I was once there, and yada, 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 yada. The people I do it to are very specific people in very specific situations. WDD Live is one of those very specific situations. Hey, Kevin, here's a link. Please go point out all of the ways that this could be way better than it currently is. Fair. I'll do that. No problem whatsoever. Okay? The other people that I do this to are people I happen to come across, and they have a very specific attitude, and they're very, very, how do we say, mouthy. They're very mouthy, okay? They run their mouth a lot to a lot of people, and they say things often very arrogantly. And you might read comments that I put in threads like this. I'm like, man, Kevin sounds very arrogant, or he sounds like he's got an attitude. Yeah, I tend to give people exactly what they give first, right? And so people will come along, and you're going to see in this thread, okay, there's this hint of like arrogance, right? Fine, whatever. But like, if you're going to be arrogant, like you should at least be right. You should at least be able to back up what you're saying arrogantly, right? So let's look at an example here. First, and I'm not really even talking about Jamie here. Like we're going to be talking about somebody else in this thread. But this is very, very common. You have to understand. This is like daily, because this is actually a common thing, which is like, look what I did without CSS. Look what I did with this bullshit page builder. Look what I did with, look, you don't need this. You don't need, there's all this talk, this mouth. And then I'll come along and I'll just ask a question, or I'll just be like, not sure. You know, maybe there's a little problem with that. Now keep in mind, these are people that are putting their opinion out in public. Once you're like, hey, everybody, here's my opinion, okay? Then people can go and give their opinion back. That's how this works, right? Like I said, I'm not finding randos who are just trying to live their life in their little corner of the world, and I'm picking their stuff apart. That's not what's happening. It's always people that are right? And what's unfortunate is that a lot of people come along who are trying to learn. And they see these discussions and they see the echo chamber of like, ooh, wow, ooh, wow. And they go do the same thing themselves. And now they're off doing shit really, really bad. Really, really bad, right? Okay. So if you can figure out how I built this layout entirely with WordPress blocks, this is the first, okay. Why does with WordPress blocks matter? Like the fact that we're stipulating that, I need you to understand, like it's inherently suggesting that maybe WordPress blocks weren't so capable at some point, or like maybe it's known that they're not so capable. Because really, like we're talking about this effect, it should really be like, isn't it the effect we should be worried about? Like not how what tool the effect was created. Now, like any capable tool should be able to create this effect. So why don't you just teach how you did the effect properly, right? This ladder divider effect, okay? That's number one. Why the clarification of this was done with WordPress blocks? Like having to clarify that automatically kind of insinuates that, oh, maybe this at some point wasn't so capable, right? No CSS. Okay. Why does that matter? I don't understand what we're trying to do. It's like, hey, without the base language of styling on the web, I was able to do that. Well, no, you actually weren't. Like the block editor wrote CSS for you, and it wrote some shitty CSS. That's what it did. It wrote some really bad CSS, and you created an effect. And the effect that was created has a lot of problems. It has a lot of breakages. It's not scalable. It's not maintainable. The more you deploy it, the worse the situation will get, okay? And I know this because I know fundamentally that this thing right here, called the block editor, is not capable of doing this correctly. It's not within the feature set. It cannot be done, at least to what I've ever seen. So I know right off the bat when it goes, look what I did with WordPress blocks and no CSS. Well, you needed this part, the part that for some reason we're always trying to run from in this industry. Well, everybody, like, this is the fucking boogeyman. Like, we're all running and hiding. Like, oh my God, is the CSS still out there? Why are we trying to avoid the fundamental language of the thing that we're supposedly doing? It never makes sense. And then no plugins. Why on earth would you need a plugin to do that? That's an insinuation that WordPress is insane. That the ecosystem, this plugin first ecosystem, which by the way is very much a thing. Like, they literally will do a plugin for one little tiny thing and go, look, I made it a plugin. And I'm like, oh, dear Lord. And I've tried to make the point, which they cannot get through their skulls, that on the one hand, you're like, this is for this Kevin's grandma should be able to use this. There's a plugin for everything. Well, guess what? Kevin's grandma isn't going through the plugin repo with a fucking fine-tooth comb looking for every single little layer of functionality she might need to put into a website. It's just not happening. The more plugins there are, and the more plugins that are needed, is directly antithetical to beginners using the thing. I don't know why that doesn't compute for them, okay? Those two things are negatively correlated. More plugins, less beginners. It's very simple because it adds a tremendous layer of like knowledge and having to test and having to vet. Because even, okay, I gotta go find a shape divider plugin or a plugin that just does this shape divider, and then I gotta figure out, does the shape divider plugin do it the right way? Well, then now there's 100 of them. I mean, which one should I choose, right? All of this thinking, all of these layers, all of this complexity, that is antithetical to a person walking off the street, opening the thing up and making use of it. And they cannot get that through their head. They continue, well, there's a plugin for that. That should be a plugin. That shouldn't be in core. That should be da-da-da. Even to the point of, Kevin, you are asking to properly manage content with custom post types natively. That's absurd, Kevin. That should always be a plugin. That should always be additional functionality. Literally, their argument is that managing content in the content management system should be an add-on. These people cannot lead this project anywhere. They should not be behind the wheel. Okay, anyway, that's a tangent. Back to where we were. So right off the bat, I can't, I read it, it irks me a little bit, and I'm like, all right, okay, I'm gonna try, okay? Since it can't really be done properly in Gutenberg, the guessing game is a lot more difficult, this guessing game that we're playing. It can be done incorrectly a bunch of different ways. Doing it correctly, not so many. So like, if the stipulation was guess how I did it right, well, now I am totally free to guess. I can work through it myself. I can try to figure it out. And I can be like, I'll submit a solution that I think is probably very close to what was used. We could play the game all day. But I mean, if it's not done properly, there's 100 different ways. I could use pseudo elements. I could put two white boxes right there, one staggered above the other. Call it a day. I could use an SVG, an inline SVG. I could use a mask of some sort. I could use a mask incorrectly and get that done. I could use blocks, divs with white backgrounds and just position them in that spot. And I could get this effect. I could make this effect happen any number of ways that are completely irrelevant to my work and to the project that I'm working on. Because here's the truth about this, not a single one of those solutions is actually a solution. That if I was hired by an agency, like if I put in a job application, I was like, I would like to work for your agency, Mr. Agency Owner. And they're like, sure, come on in. We're a super professional agency. We do enterprise level work. We do really solid work for small businesses and blah, 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 blah. You know, quality is our, okay, everything you would want from an agency, everything you would want from an agency. If you submitted what we're about to see as your working solution on your first day, the first day, they're like, hey, we need you to replicate this hero section right here with this cool little shape divider, okay? And you're like, no problem. I got this. Anybody can do it, right? I can even use the block editor, coach, with no CSS and no plugins. Imagine that. Okay, and then you submit it. You will literally, they might page you over the fucking PA system and be like, hey, come to the office, please. And you walk in and they're gonna sit you down in front of this situation. They're gonna go, can you explain yourself? Can you, what did you do? What were you thinking here? Right? I want you to explain to us how this is deployable on one of our client projects. That's what they should do. And then you would no longer be employed there. Okay? So let's continue. This is reality, by the way. This is reality. This should not pass. Okay? All right. We can skip. Well, actually, let's click into here. I think this is where the discussion happened. Okay. So we've got Cyprian who comes along. It's definitely possible. Okay, so remember what I said. Can't really be done properly in Gutenberg. Well, immediately. You're wrong. It's definitely possible. It's not even complicated. Wow. Okay. All right. Now, this part rubbed me a little bit wrong. The thing is, no one builds sites this simple. So the block editor is pretty useless in lots of scenarios. Hold on. Stop. What are we talking about here? This doesn't, things don't even, they go in my brain and my brain's like what? That doesn't compute. It does not compute. The problem with the block editor is that it's overly simplistic. That's why it's so problematic. And we've got somebody saying, the problem is that this site's too simple. The block editor almost can't handle it. It's too simple. But it's not simple. It's not simple at all. And the block editor is too simplistic to do it. That's like the reality he lives in is it's in a different universe. We're in a different time chain or whatever the fuck it's called. We don't live in the same place. Okay. I don't understand where the disconnect is, but this that we are looking at is not simple to do it right, which we're going to explore. Trust me, we're going to explore the problems. Okay. And the challenges that you would have to solve for. So, and by the way, the solution I'm going to give you is just the first solution that I came to when I was just trying to work through it and see, because there is an inherent problem with all shape dividers that I've ever seen. Okay, we can go to shape divider galleries and we can look at the problem in the damn galleries. We can look at the problem in the galleries. Should be a known problem. It's a known problem with shape dividers. Okay. But again, this is, no one builds sites this simple. Like, this is such a simple thing, right? It's almost too simple. This is like the arrogance that I was talking about earlier, where somebody's saying, well, it can't really be done properly. You don't even stop to ask. There's not even a question of, what do you mean by properly? And then I could clarify, like, well, it needs to be scalable, it needs to be maintainable, it needs to be deployable in 100 different instances without us worrying about having a nightmare on our hands if it needs to be changed or adjusted later. It needs to be compatible with an adjacent section in terms of background color, background texture, background image, background gradient, because all of those scenarios could happen in an adjacent section, and that's no longer going to be a shape divider if it hasn't been built properly. It's going to be an odd, broken-looking thing. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. That is going to need some custom CSS. See, it's so arrogant to when somebody who clearly through hundreds of hours of videos has shown like, I think I know a little bit. I think I know a little bit of what I'm doing. Okay. Comes along and goes, it's not really possible in the block editor. You're like, it's definitely possible. Not even complicated. Super simple. Like, that's so fucking arrogant. You know how arrogant that is? That's so arrogant to just skip the step of like, what do you mean by properly? What Can you explain what are you looking for in this scenario, right? Crazy. All right. So, and then of course you tack on this, right? Unless you're building a blog for Aunt Harriet who wants to showcase her collection of colored yarns, right? I don't even know what we're talking about, okay? Obviously the page that was provided by Jamie was not supposed to be some super advanced crazy thing. He's showing one little thing, which is this shape divider. What's above it and below it is completely inconsequential. And this guy's talking about the page being too simple. I don't know where the disconnect is, but there's a clear disconnect. So anyway, I say I try to double down, right? It's actually a somewhat complicated effect if you want to do it right. Now you say I don't have an attitude. I'm not going off on him. Yeah, I'm just like, hey, it's actually somewhat complicated if you want to do it right. And we get more. I use the block editor daily. I replicate websites because a backend developer, my design inspiration is a bit lacking. So I can replicate almost any design you throw at me. And this is the topic of discussion today. The word replicate. I can replicate. Okay. This one doubles down. This one is very simple. Twice now, somebody who kind of knows what they're doing has gone, this one's not so simple. And he's like, this one is very simple. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Jack. So I said, this is how I solve this problem every single time. Please replicate, send me a link. Because 9 out of 10 people that I say this to don't ever do it. They won't ever do it. You know why? Because in the process of replicating, they realize, oh, this is kind of dog shit right here. Yeah. Maybe I should go delete that post. Maybe I should go delete that comment, right? Well, we get a link. Wow. Okay. 10% of the time we get a link back. It's interesting. 100% of the time I get a link back, it's dog shit. Okay. So the people who did not send the link, who realized it was dog shit before they sent the link, kudos to them. Okay. They actually get more points because they realized in like just kind of, it's like The Simpsons with the guy, withdrawing into the bushes, right? Because 100%, I've never gotten a link back where I'm like, holy fuck, that's engineering right there. I'm learning something today, right? I can't think of a time that's really ever happened, okay? Okay, so of course we get the stipulation. Well, I'll give you a link, but hey, I'm in bed on my phone, I can only do so much. Right? Okay, so let's take a look. Now you pull it up, right? You pull this up. Let me, I'm going to check on the chat here. Yes. See, crack a nose. We're on the same page. Okay. All right. So you look at this, right? This is the example. Okay. And you look at the divider and you're like, well, yeah, he did replicate the divider. But what is the title of this stream? Replication is not the goal. When somebody hires you to do work, there needs to be a difference between Joe Schmo off the street using AI or whatever and you, right? What is the difference? There needs to be one, because if there isn't one, we don't need you, do we? Right? Okay, that's what I'm trying to get we're in the age of AI. This point needs to get through people's heads like ASAP. Because if you and AI are doing the same shit, we don't need you anymore. So let's take a look. Before we take a look at the shape divider, let's just take a look at this section. Now I'm going to make a broader point about this because it's again, it feeds into all of this. What you're looking at here is the block editor columns element. He created 3 columns, 2 of which are completely empty for the sole purpose of having something in the first column that just sits over there on the left and has its width constrained. So, yeah, there's just, this is Exhibit A, okay? Exhibit A, that we're just tossing column elements, regardless of whether you need columns or not. I guess columns element is the way to go. Blank divs all over the DOM, I guess totally fine and dandy. Let's go down and look at the actual divider. This is also a columns element, okay? Also a columns element. And inside of the blank columns, of which all 3 are blank, there sits a spacer element that has a fixed height in an inline style. And it's colored white with a has white background color utility class, which I think is generated from Gutenberg. And then the second one has a manually doubled height and the same has white background color utility class. Okay. So this is created with 5 divs, 5 blank divs, essentially. This is a collection of 5 blank divs with no centralized utility class for controlling their position or their color or their size or anything else. Just slapped into the section. We could see that there's a padding issues here. And then we look at the subsequent section, the adjacent section. That section, well, it's not even a section, it's just a div, doesn't even go edge to edge of the screen. Like if you were gonna put a background on here, that's all, this area here is the body of the website. This is an unstylable no man's land of area. You can't style any of that area because this is not even using proper, basic page structure, just basic page structure of grouping associated content in the same style and format that all the other associated content is grouped in, i.e. a section with base padding, base background options, and so on and so forth. So in order to reveal the first problem with the shape divider formula, I have to put a color on the body. Okay, so pretend that's an adjacent section with a red background. Well, this is what you get. So in order to use this divider deployment, you essentially have to have a white background adjacent section. Otherwise, it will look like this, which is clearly not any longer a divider. This is a what the fuck. Like if the client sees that, they're gonna be like, what the fuck? What is that? What happened here? This looks broken. Even Bev can see that this is broken. Then people they'll smarten up and they'll go, well, Kevin, you can just change the class or the color of those shapes and it'll match the color of that adjacent section. Well, you could do that. You could do that. That's annoying. Now you think about doing that at scale. Is that possible to do at scale? Even without a selector, I mean, even if you had a selector, is it possible to do that at scale? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, as a professional, do you create situations where when one thing is dependent on another thing, is it very common for you to make people adjust both things manually? Or do you tend to like to tie those things together somehow so that adjusting one automatically adjusts the other one? Because there's a duct tape solution and there's an actual mechanic solution, right? You could be a mechanic or you could be a duct tape artist. Like, I don't know which one you try to be in your daily life, but I think most of us should not be the duct tape specialist, okay? Because that's some duct tape shit. Now, even if you tied these colors together programmatically, which you can, you for sure could, you still have the limitations of can't use background patterns, can't use background gradients, can't use background images. So our solution that we are putting on the we replicated one instance of what we saw without any regard for, but what if the adjacent section is black? What if the adjacent section has a background image? What if the adjacent section has a background gradient? What if it has a background pattern? We're gonna submit a solution that only works when literally everything is white. That's the solution. That's the, here you go. Actually, this is so simple. It's so simple. The arrogance. That's what I'm saying. You understand now what I mean? This is the arrogance. It's so simple. What are we even talking about? So simple, right? And they don't listen. They don't ask. They don't inquire. They don't go, oh, maybe I could learn something. Well, and I want to go back to if I'm going to show you a solution, if you have a simpler solution, or a more efficient solution, something I missed that makes this way easier, dude, I would totally love to hear it and see it. I am open to actual education, right? I am not open to, well, Kevin, you could just slap some fucking white blocks in there and call it a day. No, sir, we can't. It's not what we're going to do. That's not the solution. Clearly not the solution. So I can get on board with the solution I'm about to walk through. There could be some more ingenious solution, right? There could be. I would love to see it. But what I know for a fact is that this is not it. This so simple, no CSS, block editor, no plugin solution is not it. It's not a solution. This should get you fired from any job that you have in this industry. This is not what you deploy on client projects. This is not how we work. Okay? So let's go through it and see what's actually required. What is actually required to do something like this? Okay? Let's take a look. So we're gonna go in here. Let's check on the chat. Yeah, this is exactly it. Yeah, I love when people thinking type is like, just throw some shit in there and call it a day. No, he said it was easy with blocks. Look what happens to that site at 760 pixels wide. Okay, I don't even, I mean, oh, that was one of the points I was gonna make, right? Where we go, we look at the, I don't have to like inspect it again, but like the, where did my writer go? There we go. That columns that were around here, boom, boom, with these empty columns. And then this down here that didn't even go 100% across the screen. If you see these kinds of things, and then of course the divider, right? You see these kinds of things on a page, it should let you know, it should inform you that there are an untold number of catastrophes in this project. An untold, because if they can't even get that stuff right, like that is such base level fundamentals that if that's not even right, you can't imagine the nightmare that is involved in this project. Just and the bigger that project gets, the problems scale accordingly, right? Okay, so let's go in here. I can get rid of this now. All right, I'm gonna add 2 sections. We're gonna call this hero section. We're gonna call this adjacent section. Okay, and I am going to just throw some content in here. First, I'm gonna put it in a wrapper in case you needed to know how to just control the width of this without throwing off the alignment and without needing a columns element with blank columns in it, okay? So we'll say content wrapper, and we'll go heading, text, link. All right, I'm not worried about colors, matching, and all that stuff. We're getting this basic semblance because none of that actually matters. Okay, I think this says book now on the original. Let's see. Yeah, book now. You can tell AI. Well, first of all, guys, pop quiz. Like, what's wrong with this right here? What's wrong with this? I know it's not the intended effect, but I mean, if you see this, like, you got to immediately fix it, don't you? Like, what's wrong here? Just pop quiz in the chat. Like, how are we putting that out in the world? Okay, so this is going to be beautiful homes. And then I'm just going to put Lorem here because I am absolutely not writing designed for a better life right there. That is not the copy we're going with. By the way, shout out to the browser company India, completely ruined the experience with the latest update. Command save or Command S is the save shortcut in like every app imaginable, right? They decided to make Command S hide the tabs sidebar. So constantly I get to play this game as I'm trying to save now. I think I'll be ditching Dia. Okay. Yeah. Anja got it, right? Line height. Yeah, you have a line height. It's basic line height issue. I mean, if you see stuff like that, you just know it's going to be a disaster under the hood. A disaster under the hood. Okay, so here's a content wrapper, right? We have a container, we have a content wrapper with a heading. We could call that a lead. We could call that a CTA. And then, I mean, you could just quickly auto BIM this, right? And then your content wrapper, you just come in here, max inline size or max width, but max inline size is what we should be doing. Okay, like, was that, why would we need, why would you do, oh, I know why. Because you can't really control width properly in the block editor, I don't think. Or alignment, really. Yeah, because it's all dumbed down nonsense. But like one line of CSS on a group of content, and I have the same exact effect. Isn't this objectively better than 3 columns, 2 of them being empty? Like, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. It's like let's actively avoid doing it the right way, almost. It's like a concerted effort to like, how can we ensure that it doesn't get done the right way? Okay, let's throw a image in there. Let's throw a real, I'm gonna use a real image. We're gonna use ACSS to just throw this in the background. So with isBG. And I'll also throw an overlay on that. We'll throw the overlay probably on probably the hero section itself. Okay, that's a little dark. Let's do overlay color. I love these color mix functions now. Transparent, and let's just make it black of 60% or something. Okay, 50, let's do 50. Okay, save. All right, there's section number 1. Now in this adjacent section, we're just gonna put heading text real quick. Adjacent section, okay? We'll throw some lorem in here as well. Perfect. And we're just gonna put a background color on here. Let's just do adjacent section, background of Rebecca purple. Something just very, very, very obvious, right? And actually, I'll comment that out for right now because we can see the intended effect where we don't care about the color of the adjacent section, but then when we add the color of the adjacent section, we're gonna reveal one of the problems, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm just reading the chat. Hey, it's all right, Jamie. You missed a lot of the rant content, but you can always go back and watch. You're here just in time for the educational portion of our stream. Okay, so let's see what we've got going on. An adjacent section, a hero section. So now we need to make a divider. Now, like I said, we could do pseudo elements. We could do empty divs. We could do exactly kind of the approach that they did. We already know that's not going to work. When I look at that and using my experience with shape dividers in general, we pretty much probably need a mask. We probably need a mask, and we probably need some sort of negative margin situation. And then there's going to be some struggle involved in how we calculate the negative margin, how we calculate the offset to match the mask so that they always line up. And then there's going to have to be some padding offsets involved to readjust the balance of padding, because negative margins and the shape divider both impact what appears to be available space inside of these sections. And now, as I explain that, you start to realize that when I said it's not so simple, that I was kind of alluding to like, it's not so simple, right? Regardless of what Cyprian said, but we already know what Cyprian delivered, which was white blocks. And that's about all you can do, white blocks, right? Let me show you real quick. Let's go to CSS shape dividers. Let's go to Okay, here's a good one. Look, these are responsive shape dividers, okay? You can see how, Bricks does this uses a fixed SVG, like a literal SVG, right? The problem with these, Bricks uses kind of a similar thing, but the problem is that you're always relegated to a solid second color, and then you always have a matching problem where like you have to manually match the divider to the adjacent section, and then you're limited to color. That's all you can do. So, and I've been in multiple situations where the designer was like, we have a cute like shape divider, but then the next adjacent section is either a background video or a background pattern or a gradient of some kind. And all of these are off the table. All of these are off the table. Let's go to this. Where's this section right here? I can change the back. Look at that. That's no longer a shape divider. Every one of these shape dividers just broke. Look, every single one of them just broke. Simply because I asked for a different color other than white in the adjacent section. Now, could I match the color of the divider? Yes. But you can't. Most patterns are not going to line up properly. Gradients definitely will not line up properly. Background images definitely are not, you can't do it. Background video, no. So if you do it this way, you're going to have to tell your designer and tell your client whenever they ask, like, no, we can't do any of that. No. Now with my approach, you can do all of those things. You can do any of those things. And that's kind of the difference. That's like, you need to identify, man, there are significant limitations in this approach. Is there possibly a different, better way? Hey, put some fucking work in. Use the noggin. You know what I'm saying? Like, and by the way, when you solve this once, you start to be like, oh, this is a common problem that I now have a solution for going forward for the rest of my existence in shape divider land. That is a benefit, by the way. You can go forwards and never solve the problem, or you can spend a little time solving the problem and then be like, oh, I've got a unique kind of cool solution to this problem. And then you could be even awesomer and share it with everybody else. Isn't that objectively more awesome than going on Twitter and being like, well, it's actually pretty easy with blocks. Just like a caveman, like a web design caveman, I get like, Hulk smash. Like, man, this is not, I don't know. We are not the same, I guess. We're not the same. Okay. That guy, you gotta love this. We happen to have another Cyprian in the chat. Okay. Not you, Cyprian. I'm not even gonna try to I don't know. I don't know what all those little I went to public school. I don't know what all those little squigglies are for. I don't know what you're supposed to do with those. Okay. All right. I mean, it's not about there are a gazillion of these Cyprians. That's the whole point. That's why I'm always getting fired up with after a while, it's like, you got to be a troll, man. You got to be a troll. Like, tell me that's the best case scenario. Best case scenario is that Cyprian is some development genius and he's just trolling the shit out of me. But I know it's not the case because it's like this is like daily. I see these threads all the time. And this is just the standard practice. The standard practice in our industry is dog doo-doo. That's what it is. Okay, so let's get back to what we were doing. So we want to make a mask. All right, you go to Figma. We need to go to Figma. All right, I'm just gonna draw a frame. We're gonna go 2560 by 2560. We're gonna make a square. Now again, I don't know. I objectively don't know. I spent like an hour solving this problem. Okay, and this was the first solution I came to. So I would love if anybody has a more elegant, efficient, whatever, smarter solution. As I've said, I went to public school and I did not try all that hard, right? So, there could very well be a better solution out there. Could very well be. We just know Cyprian doesn't have it. And I'm pretty sure Jamie doesn't have it either, okay? So let's go with this solution right here, because at least it checks the boxes we're trying to check. And then if we can make it smarter at some point in the future, we'll make it smarter. All right, so I'm gonna bring a ruler out, right? And because I went to public school, I gotta do some math here. 2560 divided by 2560 divided by, so we need about 853 is gonna be our first one. Let's pull a second one out, okay? 853 times 2, 1706 is gonna be our second one. Okay, 17. I thought you could also, let me frame. Can't you position these with numbers? Ah, there it is. There it is. Okay, 853 times 2 is 1706. And 853. Okay, so that should put, yeah, that looks about right. Okay, what we need is a shape. All right, we need black. And then I'm just gonna say that these are gonna be 70 pixels high or so, okay? And now that I've had my rulers in, you can align them as like guides. See how they snap? They snap to the guide, okay? I can zoom in a little bit too. I'm gonna duplicate that and bring this one up here, and then I'm gonna bring this one in, okay? So that is my ladder right there. That's my little shape divider. If you don't know about masks, white, and you know, as an educator, you try to find ways to explain these things for people to understand. And this is so difficult to understand. So I haven't found a good way to communicate it. White reveals and black like cuts away. But like cutting away, you're really revealing what's below. They both reveal, just in different ways, okay? Black reveals what's underneath, right? And then white is just, when you put the mask on something, you can see right through it. It's like it would be 0% transparency, essentially, right? But how do you explain like they both reveal, but just in different ways? It's kind of hard. Okay, so this is my little divider. Now I'm gonna grab both of these and we're gonna do what's called a union right here. Okay, now you can only do this with shapes. You can't do this with frames. I was trying to do this with frames because you can make shapes out of frames, right? Like I just want a black box, right? I got a black box. I tried to make 2 of these. You grab them. Oh no, you can't union them. It's not an option anymore. So then I realized, it's just shapes. So don't be an idiot like me and try to do it with frames, just do it with shapes and then you can put them together. But what a union is essentially like, it's one piece now. See, you can like manipulate it, move it, whatever. It's one piece, okay? Now I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna export it as an SVG. And I'm gonna export this and we're gonna call this ladder, okay? Ladder.svg, let's do, I already have one of those. Ladder, let's go step divider. Step divider, okay? All right, perfect. I'm just gonna go upload this. So we're gonna get our step divider, desktop, step divider, throw that in there, okay? I'm gonna grab the URL to it real quick. I want the relative path, which I really wish, maybe there's a plugin for that. Really wish that they would just, why are they giving you the full, like, we always use relative URLs in what we're trying to do. Why would I ever want the full path? I just, some of this stuff just does not make sense to my brain. Okay. So what I would encourage you to do when you're using masks, very good tip. Like if you're taking notes, if you're the kind of person that shows up with your notepad and you're like, you know, when should I take notes? Well, this is a good time to take notes. The background properties, background position, background size, background whatever, right? They map one-to-one to the mask properties, okay? So I'm gonna show you this in just a second. But so because obviously if you're trying to work with a mask, you're not supposed to see the mask. How do you work with something you cannot see? Well, my tip anyway is you add it as background so you can see it, then you manipulate it, then you turn it into a mask because the properties are identical. And that's a very, very handy tip. It's a very, very handy tip. So for those of you taking notes, do that. Now, I'm gonna hide the image for right now because the image will sit on top of this background property that I'm about to do, which is not very helpful. So I'm gonna hide the image so I can see my background, right? I am going to do this with a utility class, okay? We're gonna call this step divider. I want a way, because not every hero section on this site maybe should be forced. This is another thinking thing. You sit and you go, okay, is every section going to have this divider? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, well, we can't hard code it into the hero section class then. We've got to have a way to opt into it. Hey, can I easily apply it, right? Can I just easily apply it anytime I need it? Which also goes in line with tying all these things together. Like the fact that the adjacent section, things need to happen there. I should only need to apply one class and move on with my fucking life. I don't need, now that you applied that, you got to do this and you got to tweak this and you got to adjust. I don't want to do that. That's like a recipe for breakage. Now I'm in a situation I'm going to need to document this site. What? Why should I document why don't I just build it in a way that doesn't really need documentation? That would be great, right? It just works out of the box. So here's step divider. Step divider. Background. Red. Okay? See red there. Now it's going to look a little different because this overlay class is on there. Keep that in mind. We're darkening anything that's in the section is being darkened by this overlay class. So just keep that in mind while we work through this, okay? So if I did, instead of red, I did URL, right? And I put in the actual URL. There's my step divider. Now I can do background size, and I can do cover, and I can do background position, and I can do bottom center. Oh, look at what we have here. We have a little bit of a divider going on. I mean, if we just took a break and looked at this on the front end, okay? Let me go to, did I save? Let me save. Okay. And, the image is not hidden. Okay. The image is not hidden on the front end. It's only hidden, so we're not gonna be able to preview it because the image will cover it up like I just said until we make it a mask. So let's go ahead and let's do the mask part, okay? Now the mask, CSS mask, has one property, and I don't know if this is like, I don't remember ever having to do this in the past. I feel like this is a recent change in browsers or something, but CSS mask, there's a mask like type or something. Mask type. And you now have to set it. I'm pretty sure luminance, I feel like luminance always used to be like the default, but now the default is alpha. So you have to like explicitly say mask type luminance, which is not something you have to do with the background property. So that's one extra property that you have to do. So mask type of luminance, okay? Now what we should be able to do, okay? You come down here and you have background, and you change to mask, right? And then I think we're gonna need a Z index, okay? Is BG, let's go here. Adjacent section, container, hero section, overlay, step divider, mask URL, mask size cover, mask position, bottom center, mask type, luminance, hero section, step divider. Let me see something without this image. Oh, that's all gonna be black. Let's go to background color. Red, okay, don't want that on there. Step divider, mask size, mask type, luminance, bottom, center, cover, shape divider. Change these back to background real quick. We should be able to see it. That's correct. Mask size. Okay, let's do a little debug. We may have actually, let me slap this here, and that should answer one question. Step divider, put this here. Step divider. Okay, step divider, mask, URL. Okay, let's go to the front end. Let's figure out what's going on here. Inspect. All right. Here's the image. Overlay. I'm going to take, you know what we're also going to do? It'd be nice if my sidebar wasn't disappearing. We're going to simplify with, let's get the overlay class off of here. Let's see it without any overlays. Okay. Let's make sure we have no background defined there, no background there, CTA, image is outside, step divider, URL, content step divider, mask size, cover, mask position, bottom, center, mask type of luminance. Let me look at the mask that we uploaded. That is correct because we have white, unless that was transparent, but it should still be cutting. SVG, frame, is white, that's correct. Okay, let's go back. Good. We know that that's working because of the background, so that's good. JSON section, container, hero section, Okay. Let me go to, hang tight 1 second, because I've got my other, let's see this one. Go to front, edit. Okay, enter, let's go. Okay, mask size, mask position. It's not gonna be the repeat. It's not gonna be the repeat. Let's do, it may be a Z-index issue though. Okay, let's go back. Let's take it off of here. It should definitely work on the section. What do we call it? Step divider. Okay. Yeah, I know mask repeat is not gonna do it. Z-index of 10. That's not doing it either. Step divider. Okay, well, what is our difference here? Section block. None of that matters. Mask mode. The only thing I can think is that I typoed something. But I know the URL works. Mask mode. Ah, there it is. Is that it? Okay, thank you. Props to David. Thank you, David. Yeah, you mess up one word and goes downhill. Okay. Mask repeat, no repeat should actually be on there though. That is a good thing to have. Okay, let's go to the front. We can close this. Close this. Let's get our tabs under control. Refresh, close that. Close that, close that, close that, close that. Okay. Okay. Now, got to where we need to be. Now we're going to do the next step, which is uncomment this. Okay. This is what we're left with. We can also, let's go to the front end on here. We can also put a linear gradient here, just as a secondary thing. To bottom, Rebecca, purple, and hot pink. There you go. Let's just mix those two together. We're gonna change that to a background image soon, so it doesn't really matter. But we wanna know, because you can see here that I could make this purple to match the start of the gradient, but that's, again, it's like, that's a lot, man. It's a lot to ask to keep those manually in sync all the time, okay? The fundamental philosophy here is to pull this up so that it's sitting behind the mask, okay? Sitting behind the mask. And then we have to ask, which we could easily do, but then doing it in such a way where it always matches is another layer of complexity that we're gonna have to tackle. We're gonna try to tackle that at the very end because it's the most convoluted. There's math involved, okay? I'm not a mathematician. There's math involved. We might even ask Grok and say, hey, what's the formula for calculating this? Because I don't know many people that can sit down. I mean, if you can, like, kudos to you. But I don't know many people who can sit down and just be like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, you got to divide that by the aspect ratio and this and that. Like, okay, like, that's not me. That's not me. I just ask Grok, like, you know? Okay, so let's pull it up first. So I could, on this adjacent section, check this out, go margin top, which margin block start, right? And you just put a random value in there, something like that. You're gonna get, you see what I'm talking about now? That it doesn't matter what the background of the adjacent section is, the cutout effect is always going to work. And you don't have to keep them in sync or anything like that. But you do have, it does present other challenges. Obviously my content is up there too. That's a problem, okay? But you can see what we're trying to achieve here. That if I pull this up by the exact amount, which by the way, if I put a Z-index of maybe 20 on here, let's see if I can get this on top, okay? Maybe not. A lot goes into, it may just be all because of this image right there. Okay, there you go. Let's just do this. See how it's very close, but not perfect. It's not lined up perfect. What I'm looking at is this, look at this right here. Okay, you see that yellow line right there? And then when I hide the image, see how they're not perfect? And actually, these things are gonna change as this site starts to scale down, especially because we're using a square mask and it's being compressed side to side, but that's changing its aspect ratio because it's set to cover. So it starts as a square, but its aspect ratio does change which obviously changes the mask dimensions a little bit. And so there's got to be a formula, which we're not going to worry about right now, but and I'll just cut to the chase. There is a formula where you can ensure that the top of this section always perfectly aligns with the top of this mask. And therefore, at every screen size, which the other reason I like with this mask technique, it scales the steps automatically. You guys see that? The steps are getting smaller as the screen gets smaller. They're not gigantic steps on a small screen. It's already scaling automatically, which is like one other, potential problem. I don't know if Cyprian's does this. Where'd that link go? Okay, let's go here. Oh dear. Okay, well, okay. Oh, but see what I mean? The smaller the screen gets, the steps look gigantic. They're absolutely gigantic. They're like in the way almost, right? But over here, they scale. Let me go back to the builder. Over here, they just kind of degrade. They just kind of scale down to just a subtle little effect, A subtle little effect that's at the same scale of everything else that's happening on the screen. And then as it gets bigger, it scales up, okay? All right, so you see what we're trying to achieve. So what we're gonna do is we are going to, I'm gonna leave this linear gradient for right now. The question is, do we want negative margin top on the adjacent section? Because in order to do this, think about if you started over. So I'm gonna take the step divider class off of here, okay? Why do we still have fucking divider? Did I leave? Okay, I left it on the image. There we go. So let's save. So we're on a page and we're like, we want to deploy the step divider. Great. Okay, let's deploy the step divider. Womp womp. So then you got to remember, oh, what I have to do next? Maybe I should check the documentation of how this website was built. What I have to do next is I have to go to the adjacent section and I got to do a margin top and I got to, what value am I supposed to use? I don't know, just throw in some magic number. Like, no, this can't be how we work. This can't be what we're doing, okay? So let's go here, step divider. Whatever we do, we need to do from right here. This is the master controller for everything that's happening with this step divider, okay? So what we're gonna do is we are going to use margin block end on here because we can essentially do the same thing. See that? I pulled the section below up and I'm only doing that on step divider, not on hero section, because hero section is just a hero section. Leave that kid alone, okay? This section right here, step divider, this is the effect. So we need all the things that belong to this effect happening right here. So we have margin block end. I'm just gonna use minus 5M for right now, or we can use a percentage. 15% maybe. That's clearly too much. 5%, 6%, there you go, 6%. I will show you, I think you're gonna see the problem here. Let's scale this down. Depending on the percentages used, and sometimes like if there's another, okay, see this? Look at that. Because we're doing no math, we're just putting dumb numbers in. There are scenarios where that can break. You gotta look for these scenarios. What causes this effect to break? And let's try to make it unbreakable, right? That's what we're doing here. So that works here, it works all these places. But it breaks right there, breaks right there. Now, do I want to play like a media query micro adjustment game? Hell no. No. No, I knew right away, I was like, there's got to be some sort of formula that we can throw in. So we're going to ask Grok to help us in a minute. We're going to try to work our way to the formula. And I'm going to do a whole blog post on this because, like I said, this solves shape dividers. Once and for all, this solves shape dividers, and it would be nice to share with people, Okay, so we have got the actual divider thing working. Let's solve the problem of this content right here, because clearly this is not good. You can't have your content pulled up as well. So what we need to do is go back to step divider, because this is where all the magic needs to happen, okay? And what we need to do is we need to select the adjacent section. How do we do that with CSS? This plus sign right here, for those of you taking notes, This is the adjacent sibling selector. So anything that is adjacent, that's a sibling, is going to be selected if it's a section, okay? Now you could put div, you could put star, depending on where you want this to be able to work, right? This is a section by section divider, so I'm looking for the next section, okay? Now we could test this out by putting a border of 5 pixel solid red on here. See how we get the border? So, and this is wild. We're able to select a completely different section from another section. That's really cool. You got to know that exists. You got to know that's a thing. What do I want to do there? I want to set the padding. Now, I'm just going to show you how this works, and then we're going to take it a step further in our philosophy, in our thinking, right? So we're going to go section space M. Obviously, that would give it what it already had. What if we added the 6% that we created the offset with? We get back to perfect padding, okay? Now, this needs to be padding block, and then you need to use section space M for the bottom value, okay? I think I just broke it. Let's see, the calc ends there. Var section space M, padding block, 6%. That is a correct calc formula. There's the bottom. Okay, got to be careful with your brackets. So this is perfect padding now. Now, what is wrong with this? The question is, can I leave it like this? Like, let's do a pop quiz. Like, we got it. We got the formula. There's more than one problem. I'll give you that hint, okay? What problems do you see? Put it in the chat that we need to now fix. There's two major problems. Let's see if you can put them in the chat. What are y'all? Oh, sippy. Okay. Okay. I know there's a delay. We got to sit here and wait through. And by the way, oh yeah, this is a good from Mark here. None of this can be done with styling inputs. That's what's like. You think this selector is possible with styling inputs? None of this can be done with styling inputs. Like, you can make this selection, right, in some builders, not most of them. Like, this can't be a selector. In most builders, this can't be a selector. But I don't know that there are even, most builders that I know of don't have mask inputs like this. Some do. But the way that we're combining all of this together and our ability to nest all of this, you're going to be in panel hell, right? You're going to be in panel hell with a styling panel. Okay. So somebody said, yeah, hard-coded 6%. 6% is a magic number. Section padding also needs a logical property. It does. Padding block right here. Padding block is a logical property. But here's another problem, okay? I want this adjacent section to have more padding, right? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Womp, 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 womp. Nothing I do here works now. Why? Because a more specific directive is happening in this step divider. So the question is, can I still create a lever of some sort to be able to control this padding in the adjacent section? This is the one area where I have not figured out how to make it 100% obvious for like the next person that comes along. But again, you know, it's still way better. Here's what we're going to do. So we're actually going to use important. Have you ever wondered, is there a legitimate use case for important? Yeah, this is it right here. You ready? Important. We're going to force this formula to happen in this adjacent section. But here's what we're going to do. Instead of section space M, we're going to say section. Let's think of a cute name for this. Let's do block padding. Okay? Var block padding. We're going to take that, and we're going to take that. Okay? Block is the block axis, the up and down vertical axis. That's called the block axis. That's why it's called block padding. We're not affecting inline padding whatsoever. We're only affecting block padding. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna come up here and we're gonna call this the offset. Our offset is 6%, okay? Now, we're gonna get into a little hole here, okay, that I found earlier, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And so I'm gonna point it out to you because you could get stuck in this rabbit hole for a while. I was like, I kind of figured it out pretty quick, but it's interesting. It's interesting, okay? All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So we have this offset. Now we can replace this 6% with the offset. But if you need it to be negative, you calc it by -1, right? But down here, we need the positive value of the offset, okay? And look how it's not working. And I was sitting here going, wait a minute. When I hard code 6% in there, okay, it works. Hold on, calc block padding plus 6%. Okay, we don't have a block padding value yet. Let me just put one temporarily. Block padding 2M, whatever, 5M. Okay, block padding 5M, padding block calc, var block padding plus 6%, var block padding important. Something is off. Offset 6%. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's still broken. Duh. Okay. Because this block padding. So it's these two things right here. So watch this. And this actually, I was like, dude, the has me selector to the rescue again. How does this, I did that. I came up with the has me selector for container queries. And since then, I didn't realize how often you need this thing, but it got me again. Like whenever you're doing nesting and you're trying to keep everything compartmentalized in the same class, I'm gonna add the has me selector and I'm gonna put these in there. And I'm gonna explain why this works. But look how everything just came to life, right? Okay, so, and then I can replace this with offset and it's still gonna work. So now I have this block padding, this offset, this block padding, this offset, and everything is controlled by these two levers, which the block padding, you don't even need to really define there because you can come in here and say, and by the way, if you're using a framework, like it always makes this stuff a lot easier. Block padding, comma here, okay? Those are fallbacks. Let me zoom in because that's hard to see. And there's a lot going on here. Like whenever you do a variable, if you put a comma after it and then put another value, and that value could be a variable or it could be any legitimate value, it uses this as the fallback. Because right now block padding is undefined. We did not define a value for it. So we're saying, hey, if there's no value for that, just use this. And the calc still calcs, all that still works, okay? So this is gonna be our default essentially, right? And let's go to the front end and check this out. So it's starting to look very good, right? Very good. Some of you said that this is like the 1980s. So we'll take the linear gradient off now and we'll just throw another background image in there. So I'm just gonna throw an image in and we'll grab this one now and we'll say is BG. There we go. I need to come up here, step divider, and add our Z index back. Boom, save, and get my sidebar back, refresh. Look at this, okay? Now we're gonna do our overlay on here too to darken that, okay? So look, it works with images, it works with linear gradients, it works with patterns, it works with colors, and you never have to mess with manually doing shit, okay? So now let's come down here and let's do the next step. I wanna explain the has me situation. If you didn't realize what was happening, when this is just like this variable is being defined on essentially on the element that has the step divider class. This section is an adjacent section. It cannot access this value right here. So what the has me selector does, right? We add the has me, which is usually for container queries, and I can move all that to the top. So what the has me selector does is it says, hey, okay, take this section, whatever has me, that's the main tag of the website. So the whole body of the page essentially, or the whole main area of the page now has access to that variable right there, which now means this adjacent section can access that variable, and I can use it in the calcs and all that good stuff, right? Okay, so has me to the rescue one more time. All right, so we're gonna go in and we are going to think about this math now. Oh, let me show you the adjacent section. So if I'm in here now and I go padding, block, 1,000 pixels, whatever, like see, nothing changes, right? This is the only thing that you would have to either inspect the section and figure out what's going on, or have some notes. And I've actually thought about, let me zoom out here, having a little icon right here, okay? Or maybe in the right click, or some, maybe even in a panel right here, probably in a panel right here. How dope would this be? And this actually, doing this right here, helped me realize, like, man, this would be very, very, very helpful. What if we had a notes panel and it was attached to each element? Each element just had a panel where you could write notes, and you could choose whether you wanted to see the notes panel or not see the notes panel. And it could even collapse like these do, right? So this could say notes, and it would have notes that you might need, and you could just toss it down to the wayside when you don't want to look at it, right? I think that would be super helpful, super helpful. But I could do block padding, okay? 1,000 pixels. Now we have 1,000 pixels of block padding, okay? I could do section space XXL like I was trying to do earlier. Look at that. And it's always balanced. It's always doing the math. It's doing the math for me. I can literally do anything that I want, okay? I go, hey, I don't want, in this adjacent section, I don't want the image. I actually want the background to be hot pink. I had to do nothing with the divider, nothing with the shape divider. The shape divider just works, okay? If I take the shape divider off, the step divider, look, everything goes back, okay? Put the shape divider back on. Boom, everything comes to life. Does what the divider is supposed to do. You have this little thing now where you could just be like, boom, I want that effect. And everything around it and everything around it just starts working, And this is the other part where we need to define both of these. That would have to be in the notes, right? That way, if I remove my little step divider, I don't lose my padding adjustment that I wanted. But check that out. I now have an injectable, bang, divider. And you could even do stuff with like the mask size. Instead of covering, the mask size could be manipulated perhaps. The mask position could be manipulated. You could flip it like to the other side. You could create little controls, little variables for doing all of those things. However much flexibility you wanted to build in, you could do, okay? Why not just comment your code? You could definitely comment the code. Problem is, you would have to comment it here because everything's happening here, and I'm trying to find out why that's not working over here, right? I'm in a different area that's being affected by this other area over here. And so the notes would need to be on, I don't even know how that would work with notes, honestly. Like being able to put a note on an adjacent element, kind of like we can do with CSS. Now, let me show you what people would normally do. Like if you didn't have notes, if you didn't have documentation, okay, you would come to here, right click, inspect, and you'd be like, where is this getting its padding from? Oh, it's getting it from the step divider. And look, it's using this thing called block padding. So I can use this thing called block padding. Like you can, if you know how to inspect a page, which I've said everybody who does this work needs to know how to inspect a page. If you can inspect a page, you can figure out very quickly it's telling me right here what the answer is, right? So anybody with the ability to inspect can inspect it and figure it out. Now, in most cases, because we're using the default section padding, you may not even need to touch it. You might not even need to touch it, right? And we'll take the overlay class off. That'll actually make it hot pink. But see how the overlay is unaffected? Like anything that I do here is completely unaffected. Like it does not break the shape divider. Let me put an image back in. Go here, go here, go here. Is BG. Overlay. And you can just whip it up and never have to touch that shape divider, okay? All right, let's figure out the math. All right, so what we're gonna need to do, I'm gonna kind of tell you how the math is supposed to work. And I'll probably reference my other little project here that I was working on, because the math is the math. And the math is not, it's not, you know, come on, man, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Oh, come on, Zip. All right, sandbox sites. I think it's this one right here. Let's go into here. I'll try not to get these confused. I'll actually put this on my other screen. That way I can just reference it and explain it as we go. Okay, launch etch. Okay, let me get my shape divider, ladder divider. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna need 3 different little control points, okay? We're gonna go up here, step divider, and it's gonna happen in here. So this offset will leave. We're gonna need ladder or divider aspect, okay, which is 1. Now, why is the divider, it's essentially the aspect ratio. Why is the divider aspect ratio 1? Remember when I made it 2560 by 2560. That's a square. Aspect ratio is 1. The 1 it equals square, okay? Okay, so we need to know the aspect ratio. Why do we need to know the aspect ratio? Because it changes as the section changes, okay? But we need to know the starting aspect ratio. According to Grok, again, I'm not a master mathematician. We need to know the ladder or the divider edge, okay? And this divider edge is, we're gonna see what this is. I'm gonna put in 0.9 for right now, but we're gonna go into Figma, and essentially I'm gonna get a ruler here and drag this down. We need to know where that is right there, okay? And this is 2420 out of 2560, okay? 2560 minus 2420. So it's like 140. And I think you do like 140 divided by 2560 or something. It's like 0.054. I was getting a phone call. 0.054. We'll just go with that, okay? 0.054. That may not work out, but we'll see. Because I don't know. I don't know how the math works, okay? But you need to know where that essentially the mask starts, or the chopping part of the mask. Because remember, all this white space is just reveal whatever's there. This black part is the only part that's chopping. And we need to know where that starts in relation to the entire square, okay? Because that's really what the offset has to match up to. Like, this bottom section has to be pulled up to the top edge of where that cut actually happens. Hopefully I'm explaining it correctly. Now the offset is gonna be a formula calcing all these things, okay? It's 1 minus the divider edge multiplied by 100 VW and then the aspect. Okay, divider aspect, awesome, okay. 1 times divider edge, offset, calc 1 minus divider edge, okay? And now what I wanna do, it did pull it up a little, it seems. Let me see what we're doing. Let's pull this down. I'm doing a slightly different names and all of that in the formula from what I did on the other side. So let's just take a look. Calc 1 minus divider, and let's also make sure we didn't make any typos. Divider edge times 100 VW divided by divider aspect. Divider aspect is 1. I think that formula is actually just not, it's maybe broken in some regard. That seems is that correct? Divider aspects. How many parentheses should we have? 1 open, 2 open, 3 open, 1 minus calc. Okay. 103. Good. Okay. Gotta count your parentheses, man. Gotta count your parentheses. Because it's literally, it's this group multiplied by this group, essentially. Okay? 0. What did I say? 054 or something. Now let's go toggle. Okay. Oh yeah, that's way, okay. So let's go to, first of all, even out this, did I do anything with the block padding? No, okay. Let's hide image. Yeah, it looks like it's pulling that up way a lot. Let's do 0.9 on this and see how this affects it. Now what is it doing? Hide, that's getting closer. Okay, so I think I did my math part wrong. Let's get there. What was the, I wish I had the original formula because I cut out. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn to Grok, or I wonder if I have it in Dia. No, okay. Let's ask Dia first. See if Dia can do something other than close my sidebars all the time. Okay, so I'm gonna explain this to Dia. I want you to fix the calculation for the offset. We need the offset to match the height of the divider edge. The divider edge is calculated based on the size of the SVG mask we are using. Divider edge, yeah. And its aspect ratio. I'm gonna give it the code and say divider edge 0.9 is incorrect. How would I calculate the divider edge properly based on 2560 by 2560 SVG? And let's just see what it chews up and spits out. Divider edge should represent the fraction of the element's height occupied by the edge shape in the mask. If your divider edge is at 2304 from the top and the bottom edge height is 256 pixels tall, edge height 256, SVG height 2560, 256 divided by 2560 means you're assuming 90%. Okay, so I'm gonna give it the dimensions. So this is at 2420. Okay. The edge is at 2420. .095. Oh, that's fantastic. All right. We could put the actual formula here. Look at this. Look at this. That's perfection. That's perfection. See what I'm saying? Now, I'm not a fucking mathematician, but I knew in my head, see, I'd gone to public school long enough to be like, I know there's probably a formula. There's probably a way to figure that out. And here's where AI actually can come in and help you do something intelligent. Instead of help you throw slop on a page, it can actually help you do something intelligent. So now I have this formula that automatically makes that match perfectly. There's no more guessing games. No more, look at this. It just scales down. So now I've created everything just works when you put the class of step divider on one of these sections. Bang. Everything just works. Padding's normalized, gradients can be used, patterns can be used, images can be used. There's no padding issues, there's no spacing issues. It scales fluidly across all the different device sizes. We've created an unbreakable situation. Now, takes time. Takes time. Nobody's arguing that it takes time. My point was, if we go back to, where's my thread? What was the initial thing? What was my initial comment? Two things. One, can't really be done properly in Gutenberg, okay? Two, it's actually a somewhat complicated effect if you want to do it right. That was my only point. But they were so arrogant. Oh, I always gotta sound like a caveman when you talk like, because I think they think like cavemen. So I gotta give them the caveman voice. You know what I'm saying? Let me turn to the chat real quick. All right. Oh, look what Steve. Wow, did Steve pulled out the, he already had it done. Steve must be a mathematician. Oh, D123 miscalculated here, I think. Well done, Steve. Well done. Well done. Karen said, where did you get the 25, the 2520? Good question. So when I made my box, can I zoom? Oh, I can't zoom in here. When I made my box, I used 2560 because that's like the device size up from 1920. It's kind of like a good happy medium for like big devices, but that'll also scale down. And so I made it 2560 by 2560. You need enough white space to account for those sections getting tall on mobile, like the aspect ratio change. Like if you had this really short, you would run out of mask on the top, like on smaller sizes, because this is the wrong aspect ratio for devices, right? For phones and such. You need enough coverage up here for when the aspect ratio changes that your mask doesn't break. So now this is 2560 high, perfect square, right? I took a ruler. See this ruler right here? I can delete that. You go to, for everybody that doesn't know how to do this, view, rulers. You'll get rulers. You can grab the edge of the ruler and pull out a ruler. And when you take it to line up with the top of the mask, it's gonna give you the y-axis calculation. So it's gonna say, hey, that's 2,420 pixels down from the top of your mask. And that's what we stuck into the formula to figure out the ratio. I can't even explain it because I'm dumb. So you get what I'm saying though? You get what I'm saying? Okay. You could potentially do it with clip path. The problem you're going to run into with clip path is that you're limited to different shapes, and it introduces other potential limitations because this is just one kind of mask. This is not a super fancy mask. This is not a crazy, like what if you wanted another little piece like this? Like what if the designer started to get really cute on you? Okay? And you did another one like here or something. And then you did another one, I don't know, like over here. I'm not a designer. What if they started getting cute on you? You know, clip path starts to go out the window now. Maybe it could be done. I don't know. You wouldn't be able to do it yourself. You'd have to have AI create it for you. Okay. But you do introduce like every single thing has various pros and cons, right? I could be a genius, or it could just be the opposite of what you had before. Yeah, very, very possible. Steve went to private school. Okay. We got good views on an impromptu live stream. We're gonna do a little Q&A in just a second. I just want to go through the chat real quick. And if you have any other questions about what we've done here. By the way, comments in CSS get output in the front end in the style sheet. And so a lot of people don't want, that's why I was saying notes versus comments. A lot of people don't want their comments output in the style sheet. Also, comments are grayed out and they're very low contrast. They're sometimes very hard to read. And what if you wanted to put images in your notes? What if you wanted to do some, some fancier stuff with your notes? What if you wanted to put some highlights, Can't really do all that with comments. Okay. Those broken shape dividers trigger my Elementor PTSD. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Can we have these rants more often? Sure, yeah. Yeah, hey, David, I know. I was just making a point, David. I wasn't saying it was, I know my lane, okay? I wasn't saying it was a good design. I was just saying, what if? What if they start doing some crazy stuff? Plus, I think with, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with, what's the word again? What did you say? Clip path, with clip path. You can't do curves with clip path, I don't think. Because you can go to a clip path generator and see. Oh, I always forget this is not Google. Jeez Louise. And you'll see like okay, you could do a circle, but like, how do you do a curvy line, you know? I don't think you can. It's gotta be sharp edges, and they all have these stupid coordinates, and it's an absolute nightmare. Wouldn't you rather just go into Figma and just throw some shapes in here? Someone said, show the, could you do this in your bed while tired though? No, I couldn't do that. Karen said, show the formula again. So I'm gonna show the formula. And here's the thing, I'm going to, I don't like this. This needs to be calculated by itself, like the actual formula, and it probably needs to be pieced up into additional, like divider something, divider something, so that you can just plug numbers in and the math does it on its own. But here is let me zoom back out, make sure I didn't break it. Okay, here's the math again. So you take 1, which is like, because this is a decimal, this is like 100% essentially. So this gets you essentially the amount of coverage of the actual black part of the mask, essentially, right? And then you multiply that by 100, the viewport width, divided by the aspect ratio, because the viewport width is what is changing the aspect ratio as it scales. I think I explained that correctly. So take your notes, copy this down. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make an official blog post about solving the challenge, this divider challenge. I'm gonna go through, here's the problem with how it's always been done in the past. Here's an actual real solution for it. And I'm gonna have it more well thought out and more tokenized so that you can just plug, move on with your life. And this kind of formula then becomes, you know what this also becomes? In a framework like automatic CSS, a recipe, or in a builder like Etch, a recipe, where you can literally call it and you can go like at mask offset or something. And you boom, and it expands into this, and you're off to the races. And you never have to remember it ever again, and it's always at your fingertips for just instantly deploying. And if we don't have to do a live stream where I rant and rave about everybody, if it was a recipe, you could literally go make my mask in Figma, pop it in, trigger the recipe, plug the numbers in, and move on with my life. And you're probably talking about less than 10 minutes. You've got a custom shape divider deployed that has all these problems fixed and scales perfectly across all devices. See, we got to do the work up front and then figure out, how do I package this in such a way that the next time I need it, it doesn't take me an hour. It takes me 10 minutes. And then, because I'm building a tool for thousands and thousands and thousands of people, how do we just deploy this as a solution, a scalable solution inside of this tool, so that everybody that uses this tool has access to it at their fingertips? Just like I did with IsBG. You know, if you didn't know how to put in an image, and it's not, you know, it's not crazy difficult. This is not an example of a crazy difficult thing. But there are a lot of people that objectively don't know how to do this. So you have this image and you want this to be in the background. How do you get it to be in the background? Well, if you're an ACSS user, you just do IsBG. See? So something that might take somebody 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, to figure out because they've never done it before, with automatic CSS, they don't have to think about it. They just, IsBG. There it goes, IsBG. Same thing with the overlay. This overlay right here. I need an overlay. How's that done? I don't just put the class overlay on there. And then we changed it recently in ACSS 4.0 that there's not an entire library of overlay classes. It's one class now. It's one class, and you can manipulate it with its token. And if you wanted to customize, you could just make as many as you want. And then you can make globally, if you wanted some like primary overlay, secondary overlay, whatever, you could make them custom in global CSS very, very easily. Yeah, see, Pedro and I are on the same page. Yeah, so clip path, don't get me wrong, clip path with this ladder effect will work. But when I was trying to figure out a solution, because again, let me go, where's my sidebar? Dude, not Clippy. I think I got rid of it. Let me go to CSS shape dividers. Because I'm going to show you, this is why I didn't go the clip path route. Can't do it with a clip path. Can't do it with a clip path. Can't do it with a clip path. You can do that one. Can't do that one with a clip path. 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 Like you see, like we're limited to various, like, okay, you can do that one. Do this one with a clip path. I don't think you can do any curved lines with a clip path. So like, it's like, man, again, would it work? Yeah. Would it have a lot of limitations? Yeah. Yeah. So can we engineer a solution that does not have those limitations? That's what we did. That's what we did. That's what I did. Engineered. I'm saying we, because we're doing it together right now on a live stream. We're helping each other out. Okay. Kevin, I'm earlier in the stream, but I totally agree with you. For example, in the admin bar, anytime I've given the vibe of separating pros from non-pros, there's a lot of angry bevs chiming in. Yeah. ETA on the post. I don't know, probably next week. I'm going to start working on it, but they take a long time, like to write in detail, to give examples, to do screenshots, to do like, I'm gonna try to make it robust. I want these things like this live stream, this blog post, literally anytime you see the deployment of a shape divider and it's dog doo-doo, link them to this post, link them to this live stream, make them take their medicine. Okay. And by the way, like these are, you wouldn't get fired for doing this. These implementations, you wouldn't get fired for doing. The reason I had to do an emergency live stream is because I just cannot accept the arrogance of me foreseeing what we just went through to make this happen correctly, and somebody completely arrogantly dismissing that as, it's definitely possible. It's not even that hard. Actually, this is so simple, the block editor might not even be able to do it because it's so simple. That I'm sorry. Emergency live stream. I just can't let this fly. Can't let this kind of arrogance just fly under the radar. Can't do it. Can't do it. And this is the kind of shit that I have to live with every single day. Why is this so zoomed in? Every single day. There's one of these people every single day that tries to do this to me. And they try to argue about, no, it can be done. It was so much simpler this way. And it's like, do I really have to go down the rabbit hole pointing out why that won't work in this situation or this situation or this situation, or why it has this limitation and that limitation, or why when you deploy 800 instances of it? Because a project is not this one little divider in this one little hero section. I don't know why so many people can't compute that. It's not this one hero and this one divider. We're going to use this many, 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 many times. And we cannot take a problem and copy and paste that problem 12 more times on a project. That's duct tape. Anybody can duct tape. They thought they were hiring a mechanic to actually fix their shit, not somebody to slap duct tape everywhere. Going back to the original scenario. Okay, Q&A. If you have any questions, #Q. We got 15 minutes to answer questions. I'm sure plenty of people, Jason will, I mean, send them the clip. Fine, it is what it is. I don't want to. I'll let other people do that. I mean, I put out the content so people can learn. I just feel like I don't know that the Cyprians of the world actually want to learn. They want to reject. They want to avoid. Because I've had the conversations with them before, right? Yes. Doug, D123, this is Doug, by the way. Good point, okay? If you are going to go interact, okay, be more patient than I often am. Try to be as respectful as possible. Point people to the stream. Point people to the blog post that's coming down the pipe. The goal of these is not to throw people under the bus. The goal of these is to educate, to share the solution, to get people thinking, to teach people how to think. To make the point that we're not here to just replicate. We're not here to just make it look like you see it. And it doesn't matter how you do that, just make it happen. Because there's too much of that. That's what we need to try to get away from. It's to elevate the ecosystem, elevate the industry, because the more people doing quality work, the more we can actually advocate for the prices we deserve. And the average cost of a project goes up instead of down. The average quality of a project goes up instead of down. When the quality of the average project in an industry goes up, more trust is placed in the industry. When more trust is placed in the industry, more people are motivated to hire professionals. More people are motivated to pay higher dollar. More people are motivated to respect you as a consultant and not a pixel pusher, as we've talked about. Literally, the education and increasing the quality helps everybody across the board. And that's what makes me so upset when these people just push arrogantly dog doo-doo because they are, let's say they get 50 people to come behind them and learn how to implement that dog doo-doo too. Now we got 50 more people putting dog doo-doo out into the industry. And when clients come into contact with that, or clients see the problems created by that, which is also why I'm not a fan of the Elementor agencies. I'm not a fan of the Divi agencies because they're putting dog doo-doo out into the world and it hurts everybody. It doesn't hurt them because they're ignorant clients. The check's still cash. The check's still cash. So these people are more concerned with themselves and their own bank account than they are with, hey, am I doing quality work in an industry, and am I helping the entire industry do better? These people are not educators. They're not going to teach you anything. They're going to cash the first check they can find, put dog doo-doo out into the world, and go find another check to cash. And they don't care what happens to that client. They don't care what happens to you. They don't care what happens to me. They're not going to help you get ahead. They're not even helping their clients get ahead half the time. They should be called out. That should be called out. Other industries call that behavior out. There's no governing body. There's no licensing board. And I don't advocate for a licensing board or for a governing body. I don't advocate for any of that. You know what I advocate for? Accountability, personal accountability, and accountability from any leaders in the industry. Like, you hold each other accountable. And again, I don't go around, I just want to make this perfectly clear, inspecting everybody's work and then calling out people for doing. It's only the people who yap, with this like arrogant attitude of it doesn't matter. Just do things however you want. And they're teaching people this stuff. That's the people I go after. The people who are trying actively to influence lots of other people in the wrong direction. Because again, you can't just do that. You can't just do that. Okay. How has Grok been for you with the assist in the dev process? I've been advocating for a use case just like the one you've shown, but I've been using other AI tools and was wondering how Grok is. So I said weeks ago or months ago now that Grok is, I think, superior to almost anything out there. A bunch of people said it's definitely not. And then I realized that we were talking about two different Groks. So there's like free Grok, and then there's like advanced Grok or whatever, right? There's like special names for it. I have the advanced Grok. I have like the Grok Pro or whatever it's called. And it does a very, very, very good job. Better than most things I've seen, right? Now, the free Grok apparently does not do as good of a job. So I just want to make that stipulation. If you're using the advanced Grok, then it is very, very, very good. I would say almost unbeatable. But I also don't jump from AI to AI to AI. I don't play that game. If a model is not, if it's working for me and it does a really good job, I just stick with it. I don't jump from model to model. I don't look at the charts like, oh my God, Grok 77.5 is winning today. Oh, let's switch to that. I don't play that game. All right, I think we're done with, let me make sure there was no other questions. If you want to see, this isn't exactly a question. If you want to see the extent of the misplaced arrogance, click a link in the example the person built. They never swapped the menu out. It's driving to a live site. Yeah, I don't know. I gave up when I saw empty columns and spacers. I wrote it off. So that's another problem I have with it, Andre. Andre says, I've not watched the entire stream, but do we know how Jamie solved this? No, I asked for a link and was never given one before all of this happened. I just wanted to see. And that's the other thing is I get kind of ignored. Which, you know, if it was a really good solution, I would feel like he wouldn't want to ignore me. He would want to give the solution, like provide this, like let's share with people. I mean, set aside the fact that it's like engagement bait, you know. But it's all, to me, it's just rage bait. Because it's like you're dissing CSS, acting like we don't need it anymore. And you're saying the block editor can handle it when I'm pretty sure it can't. And the first person that tried to do it in the block editor completely screwed it up. So that doesn't leave me a lot of hope that it was done correctly. You know, it is what it is. So no, to answer your question, no, we don't have a solution. Is Jamie's application of a divider had via a native WP block? I don't know that either. I assume it's not a custom block. He does most things with native blocks. He does most things with, I mean, here's the thing. I've looked at the other implementations of effects that he's achieved in the block editor, and none of them are scalable or maintainable. So I just made the assumption that neither is this one. But it is an assumption, like, and that's why I said, like, if there is some magical, crazy, amazing implementation, like, I want to see it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But that's why this stream was less about Jamie and more about Cyprian, because it was Cyprian that came in with the attitude. It was Cyprian that came in with the example that was dog doo-doo. And so that's what the stream became about, you know? So it's inconsequential what Jamie did or didn't do. I don't know if we'll ever know. This was mainly about Cyprian's ignorance and the people that are, and arrogance, and the people who are like Cyprian. Because what should the response be? Let's just go over that real quick. Since it can't really be done properly in Gutenberg, the guessing game is a lot more difficult. It can be done incorrectly a bunch of different ways. Doing it correctly, not so many. So one could ask, well, what do you mean by correctly? And then we could have a discussion and we could talk about, okay, how to qualify it as a good job. And then Cyprian might be like, oh yeah, well, I guess if those are your measuring sticks, then it can't be done properly in Gutenberg. You're right. See, we could have avoided all of this, right? But he chose to just ignore that and be like, no, it's definitely possible. That is see, I just take words at face value. Definitely possible. It's not even complicated. But I already knew in my mind, I'm like, I'm thinking of all the simple ways and none of them are checking out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure it's a little more complicated. It's not even. Definitely possible. And that's where you got to just, okay, where are the receipts at? Well, thankfully we were given a receipt, and that receipt does not check out. And then that's why you have a stream. Now we got to have a stream about this because, man, that was a lot of arrogance to bring this to the table. You got to be, that's off the charts, honestly. That's incalculable amount of arrogance. Okay. Blows my mind how many professionals want to achieve these things without using CSS or advanced CSS. What's wrong with the language of web design? Yeah, I'll tell you why. It comes from a fundamental broken philosophy of we shouldn't have to do that anymore. We live in a world where we should just be able to sit and drink our latte, just sip our little latte with our legs folded, the old feminine cross, right? As we sip our latte and just clicky, 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 cute little clicks, cute little sliders. And these things just do. They just do what they do. I don't know what, because to me, that's like, if that's all you're capable of, we don't need you. I just go back to we live in the era of AI now. We don't need that person. That person is literally the person that AI replaced. Why are you trying to be the thing that's being replaced right now? That's so wild to me. What are we doing? What the people that are going to stick around are the actual engineers, the people who can actually think through complex problems and find working solutions and actually consult on larger projects. Everybody's trying to become like a AI replaced mom and pop developer using clicky click click cute tools, right? And man, I don't think there's a market for you. I just don't think there's a market for that. It is what it is. Okay. It's 5 p.m. You know what that means? 5 p.m. Hey, I'll have a latte every now and then, but it's the thing. Stripe Goat, ACSS V4 ETA. Unfortunately, there is not one. There's a lot that goes into making sure that this is literally era 4. We just had a discussion actually. If you guys want an update on things, I did a poll. I got to give my ACSS community so much props. I was so pleasantly surprised by the results of this poll. So where did my poll go? I could probably just go to my profile if I have to, but there's a lot of activity in here. It gets buried quick, I guess. I could just do search for poll. Maybe that would be good. Circle search, not so fantastic. Here we go. Okay. Keep or strip most utility classes for 4.0. And then here's what would be stripped. Aspect ratio classes. Auto grid is like, it's on the table. Maybe, maybe not. Generic background colors, generic text, border classes, box shadows, centering, display, flexbox, all of these classes stripped. Now, you might think that there's panic in the disco. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I gave arguments up here. Let's go through them. We should go through them, right? Utility classes were from the days long before heavy usage of BIM, auto BIM, variable autocomplete, auto-suggest, etc. The utility class library will never be granular enough to be utility first, like Tailwind. It's not practical or feasible or good practice in a page builder. Utility classes for generic stuff are just not very good practice in a page builder environment in general, with a few exceptions like contextual color utilities, section padding adjustments, and so on. The best workflow for a page builder environment is BIM, hands down. There is one downside to BIM, and that is typing BIM classes. And I fixed that with auto BIM. So there is no downside to BIM anymore. There's no, literally right click, auto BIM, boom, move on with your life. It takes split second, okay? So I eliminated the one downside of BIM. So now BIM is king. It is absolutely king. Mixing utility classes in BIM is even more problematic and shouldn't be done. The very large utility class library is why many users feel a strong sense of overwhelm when trying to learn ACSS, and telling them to just turn off or turn on pro mode confuses them. Now they want to know, why do they exist if I'm just going to turn them off? See, like some disconnects, right? Utility classes require preset breakpoint utilities for responsiveness, but this is precisely the workflow that's currently going out of date and is far inferior to container queries, which can't be done effectively with utility classes. That's another thing. Guys, do you know that Tailwind people are doing custom container queries in Tailwind, statically in Tailwind? Do you know in Tailwind, you can write, I don't even know the exact syntax. It's like this, if I was writing a selector. Can I zoom in on this? Okay, they do all this PY, PX bullshit. I think it's like this or something. And then you can put raw CSS in here, like raw values. So you're literally like, you're using utility classes, but with static raw values in them. I see this all the time in Tailwind. Dude, this blows my mind. It's like an admission that Tailwind is kind of broken as like a framework, in my estimation. Like they have to do all this custom stuff in brackets that they can't, because there's no utility classes for them. And it's wild. It's a wild practice. It's a wild, I firmly believe that Tailwind is the longest running fad, that at some point people are literally going to be like, we're going to look back on that era and be like, we were doing that? Not we, of course. It's not me, but there's a lot of people. There's a lot of we's out there, you know? And I just feel like we're all going to look back and be like, can you believe people were actually, they just thought that was a good idea? Like destroying their HTML, absolutely destroying their HTML with gazillions of utility classes, and then relying on, by the way, you know they have add apply, right? Add apply is what they use when they really need custom classes, but since they rejected them and don't have them, they have to use this workaround called add apply. There's so many like the whole philosophy is you don't have to write CSS, you don't have to maintain a style sheet because you use Tailwind, but then it's like, oh, but we really need those custom classes. Oh, but we could really use a style sheet. Oh, but we said we can't have one, so we'll just engineer these workarounds instead. It's such a, there's so many gymnastics in Tailwind, so many absolute gymnastics. And so you look at advancements in page building where we find out actually element level CSS, like what I did with the step divider, that I'm not having to go find this in a style sheet, that I can literally click on it and see that it's applied here and interact with its CSS. I don't have to go to a global style sheet and scroll down 500 feet and find the step divider class, right? I click an element and the CSS for that element is right there, and it's loaded contextually like Tailwind. So step divider is not loaded on this site unless a step divider has been deployed. It has the same exact benefit of Tailwind in that regard, right? And so also when I copy paste, when I share these patterns and components, the CSS goes with them. I don't have to share a style sheet. The CSS, the JavaScript all goes. The custom PHP that we'll have and will all go, ship compartmentalized with that one pattern or component or whatever. Guys, this is far superior to Tailwind. When you have to debug in Tailwind, you've got to sit there reading lines of utility classes. Lines of utility classes. Look at this shit. Look at this. And then you have to see, what is the difference between this one, and this one, perhaps? You got to do some, some crazy analysis of what's actually different here. Why is this one behaving different from this one? What am I missing? This is what you're debugging? I was nice to Tailwind for a while. Like I was like, no, don't do that in a page builder. But now I'm just like, I'm tired of entertaining this delusion. I'm tired of entertaining this delusional alternate reality that some people are living in. And what you're relying on is a code editor to multi-cursor select all the time, to bulk find and replace all of the time. You have to have some sort of component functionality, because without it, you're dead in the water. So you got to do a lot of stuff with components, things that you might not necessarily want to do with components. See, with BIM, I'm free to only do components when I need a component. With Tailwind, you're kind of like, I don't even need a component, but I should do a component just so this styling all lives with this one thing. And I'm not deploying a gazillion unlinked instances of it. I mean, it's like, dude, it's so, this is what I'm talking about right here. Custom value. These are custom values. So, and you got to do pseudo elements in here. You got to do media queries, container queries, all in here. This is wild. This is wild. And what I found was the secret. You want to know the secret of a lot of Tailwind users? They don't actually write Tailwind. Well, I watched some videos and I started to realize, oh, you know what they do? They copy and paste a lot of Tailwind preset stuff and patterns created with Tailwind, and then they just alter from there. But like rarely do I ever see someone sit down and go from scratch, just go crazy with Tailwind. You know, for sure people do it. But here's the thing, when you watch them do it, it takes forever. It takes so long. It's so much. You think I type in the CSS boxes, which by the way, I'm about to reveal. I decided to just keep going. I mean, we're having fun here. Why not, right? We're having fun. We still got 109 people. We were up to 200, I think, at one point on an impromptu live stream. We're about to reveal some things that you're not going to have to type so much. You're not going to have to type. Think about the benefits of styling inputs, but without the chaos of styling inputs, without the downsides of styling inputs. Think about rapid deployment of things you do all the time, like display flex direction column, grids, backgrounds, linear gradients, object fit covers, things like that, right? Just, you will be able to just click, and it's just it's just writing it for you. Rapid fire. And visually, you see icons. Like you see an up and down arrow for flex column. You see a side to side arrow for flex row. You see a grid for grid. You see, and you can just click, and it's just rapid fire writing the CSS for you. Properly. You're not gonna have to write. You see what I'm saying? But this has the benefit of it will all happen in this box right here. No panels to go through. No nonsense, no disconnections. See, even with the styling panel, you're doing half the stuff over here, half the stuff over here, half the stuff over here, that's a lot of bouncing back and forth. Then you could put one on top of the other, but that's now you got to scroll a lot and maybe make your sidebar bigger, like this, right? And now you have less real estate here. No. How about we get rid of all those? How about we put this where it's supposed to live? How about we maximize our real estate? And I can do all of those quick actions right here in this box. I never have to leave this box. Just like I do with the media queries, there's a media query. Just like I might want to do a container queries, there's a container query. But even faster than that, and no right clicks on the badges. I'm just telling you, something's coming. Something's coming. We're engineering new approaches because we identified that, hey, they've been doing this approach since 2011, and it's not fantastic. It helps in some ways, but it's not fantastic. And we're not about mediocre, you know? We don't want it to be kind of another mediocre experience. We want to engineer a new approach that has way more benefits and way less downsides, because we know there's a laundry list of downsides in these style panels. In every single builder, there's a laundry list of downsides. We don't want to deal with that. We want, and you want the benefit of learning, right? You want to see the CSS being written, right? So your brain computes between click that icon. Oh, that's what it did. Look at that. Look at that. So it teaches you, it makes you smarter, it makes you better as you go. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. You did do that. Let's be honest, Stripe Go. It's not difficult. Okay. It's not difficult. And I get a Long Island or two. I mean, we could do this till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Come to a word camp. Come to a word camp. That's what'll go down. Okay. That's going to be it. I got to get out of here. I got to move on with my life. I got to go play some chess. I might come back on a stream just to play chess. I'm so into chess lately. It's not even funny. Not even funny. Chess is I didn't realize the excellence of chess until very recently. And I am fully committed now to chess. And I'll put my chess.com user out there for any of those. If you play chess on if you play chess on chess.com, I was about to say etch.com. If you play chess on chess.com and you want to play me, now I will not do the 3-day games. I don't do that kind of stuff. My brain has to be in the game. It's got to be a 10-minute match, okay? And we'll go at it. But you got to ping me. Let me know when you're available. I'll play you. We'll have some fun. All right, that's it for today. Hope you guys got a lot out of this. It should have been a very educational stream. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Peace.